Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome to my Wednesday vlog. I have a couple things that I want to share, but really I'm just super excited to be able to spend a second with you, chat with you, and talk about what I have going on this week. Some questions that came up with my last video, and where I'm at with Jack Skellington. Yes, that's still a project that we are doing and that I am working through. I'm still very eager to finish that whole Nightmare Before Christmas kit. There's a lot of characters there. I bought that kit with intention. Yes, I am trying to work this project between other projects, and getting to him is definitely one of those things where if I didn't have this goal and if I didn't have you guys there along with me, holding me accountable, I probably would just end up making him one of those projects that just sits there and waits until I can find a second to get him done. But I'm so grateful for you guys for holding me accountable with the Nightmare Before Christmas set, with Jack himself, because I want so badly to make all these pieces. And life gets just crazy, you know, and having you guys make him along with me, make these pieces along with me, it guarantees me that I'm going to succeed in my goal, or at least succeed in many of these pieces to creating them. I mean, when I have amazing people like Mary sending me glow-in-the-dark yarn so that way I can achieve this goal and make Oogie Boogie the way I want to make him, I'm like, gosh, you guys, I want to do this for you, I want to do this for me. And so I appreciate you guys so much for that, just helping me to reach my goal in finishing some pieces. And right now I have been struggling just getting to Jack, but even like today I made small progress on him, you know, just getting a little bit closer to finishing him up. And like I mentioned in my last vlog where I talked about Jack, I have the main pieces done and I'm working on the little stuff right now. Like today I was able to complete his face. I made all the features of his face, and yes, that seems like such a small thing, but it's just one small step closer to me reaching my goal. So here is my Jack Skellington right now. I got his legs, got his body, got his hands, his arms, got his head, and his face. Look at that. And I didn't even get to show you guys, but his arms and his hands, his fingers. Okay, let's take a second to talk about this for what it is. So his hands, I was not expecting fingers, and honestly the fingers kind of creep me out a little bit. I mean, the detail is insane and it is super cool, and I love that the pattern designer went to that extent of actually making these long fingers, these long hands for the character. But when I look at them, I'm like, that's just a little bit creepy. But in the respect of the whole Nightmare Before Christmas cast that we are making, they're supposed to be creepy. They're from Halloween land, you know, or Halloween town, whatever you want to call it. So they were easy enough to make. It was very interesting how it closed up in the palm of his hand. I was like, okay, that's interesting. We will work with this. But yeah, I mean, the arms and the fingers, everything, the detail is super cool, worked up great. If I were the pattern designer though, I would have probably given more information when it came to his face, the face details. For his eyes, they have just this little square of black felt, and she wrote in the pattern approximately how big to cut the eye circles, and that was like 3 rows by 2 stitches. And I was like, okay, so I mean, that's all she said. She didn't give a measurement, which makes sense because, you know, gauge, and everybody's a little bit different. And then of course, if you wanted to deviate and use a bigger crochet hook, then it would be different as well. So she was just kind of going off of, if you want to make any alterations to this pattern, these eyes are 3 rows long and 2 stitches wide approximately. But for me, I was like, okay, I need to know exactly how big that is so I can then go to this square of felt and know what I'm cutting. So I measured it out, and I'm following all of the directions. I'm using the exact same size crochet hook that came in the kit. I'm using the crochet hook that came in the kit. I'm using the yarn that came in the kit. So all of that is the same. I took a measuring tape and I measured 3 rows down, and that came to exactly 1 centimeter. So it was just over a half of an inch if you wanted to compare, but I just flipped my measuring tape over to centimeters, and it was 1 centimeter exactly long. And then width-wise, it was 8/10 of a centimeter, I believe. It wasn't quite a centimeter, it was just shy. So it wasn't a perfect square, basically. But then, so I have this square shape, and I'm like, but the detail in the image, I don't have the books over there. The detail in the picture that she took of the Jack Skellington that she made, these eyes are like this perfect form. It's like, it's not a circle, it's not an oval, it's like this interesting like skull eye hole shape. And I'm like, okay, I want to try to accomplish that. So I cut 1 pair of eyes and I put them on the head. And first of all, when you just have the eyes on the head and no other detail, the eyes look way too small. They look way too small. Like, what's going on here? This is not right at all. And so I cut these eyes, and first, again, there's no stencil, so they weren't the same. They weren't even close. So I actually cut like three out. So I'm like, okay, 2 of them have to be closer than 2 of the 3 have to be close enough to work, right? So I did that, and they were too small still. So when I cut the circle, I ended up cutting too much out of the little 1 centimeter by almost 1 centimeter little square that I cut out. So I did it again. And I'm like, I hope that they provided more than enough black felt, because I just cut more black felt trying these eyes a second time. And this time I got close enough. The eyes, they are not perfect, and I'm gonna go ahead and just call myself out right there. They're not perfect. One is definitely bigger than the other, and I tried to still have some form, but eventually I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take this square that I cut out, that 1 centimeter by almost 1 centimeter, and I'm just gonna cut off the corners. Just cut the corners so that way it's at least somewhat of an oval, and then I can take that oval and just kink it a little bit, like turn it just a little bit, so that way it gives it some kind of form. And then the other thing that I thought of, and I am very curious to see how this turns out, but when she mentioned in the pattern, take 1 thread, so she provides you with black thread in the kit. And when I looked at the thread itself, you could see the different plies coming out of the thread, and I was like, does she want me to use the whole thread, or does she want me to take the thread and just remove one of the plies from the thread and use that? I was confused about that, because the thread itself splits at the ends and looks like, hey, there's like 5 different threads here, and or do I just use the whole thing, you know? So I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna use the whole thing so I can have a bolder line with my nose and with my smile, so that way you can really see what I got going on here. You can see the detail in the nose and in the mouth, even from a far distance. You can see these details. I was worried that if I just took one of the plies out, it would be too thin and I wouldn't be able to see things enough for it to even matter. But then at the same time, I'm like, is there enough string here for me to finish Jack, but then have enough for Sally? Because the kit states it has all of the materials necessary or required to make both Jack and Sally. And so I'm looking at the book and I'm looking at the patterns for Jack, and I'm like, okay, the only thing thread related I think I saw, now I'm like, the only thing that I think I saw for Jack that required thread was just sewing on the eyes and making the nose, embroidering the nose and embroidering the smile. So that's all that Jack will require of that thread, I think. I need to go back and look, double check to confirm that. But when I looked at Sally, Sally has stitching all over her because she is in a sense a Frankenstein doll, a Frankenstein where she was stitched together, and even her clothing, her dress is patchwork that's been stitched together. So she has thread all over her, and I'm like, okay, her thread though looks a lot thinner. So I'm thinking what I might end up doing with her for the details is I might take that thread and I might divide the plies out of it and just use the individual plies when doing the detail for Sally, because yeah, her threading, her stitching looked a lot more dainty, a lot thinner than obviously Jack's bold features that he needed the thread for. So when I get to Sally, I will communicate with you guys on what I'm experiencing with the thread and what I'm going through there. I'm really thinking that there's not going to be enough at this point, and that I'm going to need to buy more of that thread, but it's not like the sewing thread that I use in my sewing kit. It's kind of like that same embroidery thread that we use to make friendship bracelets. You know that thread, the thread that I think is most commonly used for cross stitching, really thick thread, not sewing thread. It does look thicker. So when I get to that point, and if I need to buy more, I'll communicate with you, like if I needed to buy more, and I'll communicate with you guys what I end up getting if I do. Okay, so anyways, this is the status on him. What do I have left? Let me get the book. I tried to avoid not getting up and getting the book, but I just ended up having to. So I finished his face today. So his face, I made his arms the other day and attached it. So I have left, I need to make, here's the book. I need to make his shirt. So the white part, I need to make the shirt. I need to make the collar piece, like that bat. I need to make the collar piece. I need to make the tie center, the tie wings. Oh, the coattails. You can't really see on him, but his coattails here at the back of his coat to make it look like he's wearing a tuxedo. So his coattails, and that's it. Oh, that's it. Sweet. Okay. Cool. So yeah, all I have left for him is his shirt, the white of his shirt, the collar, the centerpiece, the bat wings, so basically the top of his shoulders and around his neck, and the coattails at the back of so it looks like he's wearing a tuxedo. And then Jack's done. Sweet. Okay, tip says be sure to maintain the correct gauge throughout all the pieces of your figure to fit together well. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. So making sure that you're basically using the same exact crochet hook, even though those smaller pieces like the collar, the tie piece, the bat wings, they all look like they're going to be very thin and tiny pieces. So I could see that possibly being challenging for somebody who struggles to use thinner, smaller crochet hooks, because yeah, those pieces look like they're going to be very detailed. But I will talk you through that. Hopefully next week, next Wednesday, I will have him done. It looks like if that's all I have left to do with him, I just need to commit to it, do it. Maybe I can even knock that out today or tomorrow. And then Jack is done. Oh, I can't wait to like have him ready to sit on my shelf and wait for Oogie Boogie, because remember, next after him, I'm making Oogie Boogie for a couple reasons. Now, one, I had intentions of completing Jack and Oogie Boogie before Halloween. That obviously didn't happen. We are now in November 9th. Holy cow, November's flying, guys. November's flying, and I have Christmas presents to make. Ah! Oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, focusing on Christmas presents. We're gonna put Jack down now. We're done talking about you for now. He'll hopefully be done, and I'll show off my finished Jack next Wednesday. Where are you guys at with your Nightmare Before Christmas? Have you already finished Jack? Have you not even opened your kit yet? Like, I get it. I totally get it. There's one person that I know bought the kit, but hasn't even been able to open it yet. They've just been so crazy busy, and I completely feel ya. I understand 100%. And that's why I was saying that if it weren't for you guys holding me accountable and me needing to finish Jack, not just for myself, but also for you guys, because I know some of you are doing this with me. And if you have any questions, I want to be able to like have been there, done that, and now I can help you out with it, you know? So if it weren't for this vlog and us doing it together, he would be sitting on a back burner right now while I'm focusing on a lot of other whips that I have going on and projects that are on deck. Just like, hurry up, we need to be made. Like, for real. So some of those Christmas gifts that I am working on right now, I have a blanket that I'm making for my brother-in-law. And I'm super excited about that one. It's really, really pretty, and I'm excited to finish that up, and then I might even whip up a pattern for it and do a quick tutorial for you guys after Christmas. Obviously, that is a project that's going to be waiting. I already have up through the end of December. Like, I have to the end of this year already booked with tutorial. Those tutorials are already set and already like locked in. I just need to make sure that I work and get those ready to go for you guys. Then the other thing I wanted to make and haven't even started yet, so something on deck, is that hippo pillow I want to make for my sister. So I have all of the yarn is literally sitting on a shelf, and it is just like, when are you gonna touch this project? When are you going to be making me? Like, and I'm like, I need to get to you. So that right there. What else do I have? I want really bad to make that pair of socks for my husband for Christmas. Remember how I talked about going to the Fiber Fest in Dallas? And I bought that skein of sock yarn that is the orange and turquoise colors of the Miami Dolphins, which is my husband's favorite football team, which is doing really well right now. Go Dolphins. Go Tua. And so I have that pair of socks that I want to make for him. I've never made socks before, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And when I make that project, after I make that project, I will then share with you how I made that project. So that's going to be another tutorial. See, that's something also, is everything I make, every project that I create, if it's brand new, then I try to make the most out of that project by also incorporating it into a tutorial to show you guys how I did what I did. So a lot of my creative thinking, a lot of the crochet time that I spend with myself and my own personal projects, I end up like making it a duo thing. Even when people ask requests of me, like, can you make this for me? Can you make that for me? I try to double it up with, okay, I can make that for you, but to make it worth my time and everything that I am giving up for my work to do a personal project, I need to turn that personal project into a work project. So that way I'm working at the same time as doing a personal project. And I try to, like, two birds, one stone, mesh those together. So that way I'm making the most of every minute of my time. I don't have time where it's like, okay, I stop working now. Okay, now we can work on this. Not really. That doesn't really work for me. The only time that really happens is when I have a bunch of back projects that I want to just finish, whips that I want to finish, and often that looks like, for example, my tissue holders, my facial tissue holders that I just did a tutorial on. I bought enough material. I bought 5 skeins, you know, the 5 different colors, because I wanted to show off the different ways that they could look. So I have all of that yarn still, and for me personally, I just want to use up that yarn and have it out of my space. I don't want that excess yarn, extra yarn just sitting somewhere like, okay, what are we possibly going to do with you next? No, I want to use up that yarn with that project and just push it aside, and now you are complete. Now you are done. I think it would be awesome if I could just use up all of the yarn that I bought for the tissue holders, make up as many tissue holders as I possibly can, and then put them in a box and save them for next year when I do my next go of holiday craft shows, holiday craft bazaars. I think I really want to do that next year, but next year I want to be better prepared. I want to have better items ready to go, and that's also probably going to be something I'll talk about with you guys in the vlog channel opposed to my main channel. Is the tissue holders did really well for me when I sold them before, once upon a time, when I did craft shows every year. I did like 3 every year, did 3 holiday shows, and I sold those. They did really well. And so now that I'm in this position that I'm in right now, where I'm just next week new tutorial, next week new tutorial, I'm constantly moving. So if I come up with a tutorial like this one and I'm like, oh, that's a great one for selling, I want to almost bulk make it, and bulk make, stash away, done. It's all done. I'll have 10 of these just created, put away, ready to go for the event. I don't want to be like January, or no, not January, August of 2023, like, okay, now let's go back and revisit all of the tutorials that I did in 2022 or have done in the past, and what projects do I want to start making and get ready for my craft show. That by then I will overwhelm myself, because there's so many things that I will want to make for the show that I will be spending so much time trying to prepare for this show that I will really not have much time at all to dedicate to the weekly tutorials that I want to produce to stay consistent on my channel. So I'm hoping that if I can just focus on, okay, I just made this tutorial, I have all of this scrap yarn that is left over. It's not scrap anymore, it's, you know, there's still quite a bit left, but I have all of this material left from that project I just did a tutorial on. I want to just use it up. I want to use it up, and I want to make it go away. That way I'm not storing that yarn on my shelf, making my shelf look cluttered, and just that yarn doesn't have a purpose anymore. It's done. It's been used. The tutorial has been done. Now, I could theoretically take that yarn that I used for the tissue holders and create a different project with that yarn. Be like, okay, you have this material, now think of a different project that you could make with it, you know, and I could do that, but I would rather be inspired by, okay, this is the yarn that's popular right now, this is the project that's popular right now, and this is the yarn and project that I want to pair better. I want to pair more so on what people want to make right now, and then what yarn would look great with that, or what yarn is brand new and what project would pair well with that, opposed to, I have this yarn that I need to do something with, what can I do with it? You know, I'd rather go to what people want opposed to figuring out how to use up the scraps that I have. And that's kind of where I'm at right now with what I am currently working with on my shelves, and what I'm trying to actually flush out of my yarn stash right now. And 2023, I want to completely have a different thing going with my yarn in my studio and the yarn that I use for my videos. I really want to stop buying yarn that's gonna be discontinued. I want to stop buying yarn that's been is going to be discontinued, or is going to be just clearanced out, and then people don't have access to it anymore. I'm tired of making tutorials where it's like, this doesn't exist anymore. I know I just enticed you with this beautiful project, but you can't even get the yarn anymore. Like, that's frustrating. It's so frustrating. So what I want to do is I want to start buying yarn that, one, speaks to me in my soul and is more something that gets my creative juices flowing and just gets me super excited to create, opposed to buying only yarn that is popular in that one moment. Because I've done that, where I've purchased yarn because it's popular in that moment, and by the time I'm ready to use it, it's not popular anymore, and I'm like, well, poop. Like, that sucks. And or if it's yarn that I thought was gorgeous and then it got discontinued and I'm like, well, you're beautiful and I want to do something with you, but now people don't really have the ability to use you because they can't buy you anymore, then it's like, dang it. So I want to do yarn materials differently in 2023. Yeah, I don't, honestly, it's going to be hard because videos on YouTube, they get on YouTube and they're on YouTube until you take them off. So a video of mine could be on YouTube for 10, 20 years. And in 10, 20 years, the yarn that I use exclusively for all my projects might become completely obsolete for all my projects. And that's why I need to stay current and maybe even redo videos with yarn that is now available. And I could honestly do that as well. Just like as a project is popular, people want to do it, but the yarn is no longer available, I just redo that tutorial with yarn that is now available. I could absolutely do that too. But yeah, I want to stop buying yarn because it's on sale. And I know that sounds crazy because we buy yarn because it's on sale, because yarn's so dang expensive. But I want to start buying yarn because it's accessible. People can get it. And I want to start buying yarn because it's something that speaks to my soul. And it's something that I think I want to go into I have a vision, and that vision is I want a lot of my projects to connect to nature. I want to create projects that remind you of the desert, or remind you of a forest, or remind you of a sunset, or a flower, or a different kind of plant, or a moment, a location, you know, the colors of a certain location. I want to create projects that almost take you places. That's what I want to start doing. And because my whole philosophy, my whole motto is crochet something that makes a memory. Don't just crochet something to crochet something, crochet a memory. But you can't do that with working with just any project, any yarn, just because I was bored and I just had this, I had that, and I just made something. Now I want to create projects that take you places and give you feels, you know. So that's what I want to start doing, and I can't do that with what I have right now. So you're gonna see me flushing out yarn. You're gonna see me like definitely going through this changeover of materials. But don't worry, I don't want to freak anybody else out. I don't want to freak anybody out about this either, thinking, oh gosh, Tiffany's going to like start having materials that maybe it's easily accessible, but it's super expensive. And oh no, I'm gonna play with yarn that's on the whole spectrum. I'm gonna play with yarn that's super inexpensive and make projects that are quick, easy, super inexpensive. And then I'm going to have some yarn I'm going to play with that may be more specialty yarn that I purchased from a specialty yarn shop. And I'll be like, is this something that people can get on a regular basis? Yes, no. I want to play with this texture. And I want to play with this type of yarn, you know, that's different, that may or may not have a whole lot of examples out there, you know. And yarn in itself, and I'm sure many of you have experienced this. I mean, you could do a project, and let's just say, for example, the project is just let's say just a blanket. The blanket itself is just half double crochet stitches. That blanket made with one yarn, exact same blanket made with a completely different yarn. The blankets look completely different. The pattern is identical. The pattern is just half double crochet stitches, that's it. But because the yarn is different, the look is now vastly different. I've seen this with granny squares. When granny squares were a huge hit, I was downtown looking in shops, and in one of the shop windows, it was like a vintage shop, and there was a crocheted, like it was like a jacket. It was a top, a crocheted top, and It was all granny squares. The very basic granny square, nothing crazy pattern, just basic granny square, but it was made with a fiber that was stunning. And it turned that very basic granny square into something just absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. And I'm like, the fiber makes the difference. The fiber makes the difference. Oh my gosh, 100% hands down, fiber makes the difference. And I wanna play with that. So anyways, the last thing I wanna share is something that I promised I would share to somebody that watched my tissue video, and I know I'm already going way longer than I anticipated, and I apologize. I want these vlogs to be shorter for you. I just have so much to say. Okay, so these Kleenex or facial tissue holders that I made with the Velcro on the back, and you insert the tiny pouch, and they got the little hole there for you to pull tissues out of, and the cute little flowers. So I had a comment on my video for this. Somebody wanted to make a pouch for a regular full-size tissue box, and I was like, okay, this is what I would do if I were you. So the pattern for the facial tissue holder on my website, it's completely free. Go grab it. How we made it is we basically made, so taking away the flap, because the flap has the angles here, so taking away the flap, it's basically one long rectangle that I folded in half, or I folded over, not in half. I folded over so that way, imagine that's the insert. So having this flat side here, making a rectangle that will fit all the way on one side, and then the little bit here, and then all the way on this side. Focus on that. So if you have this box, okay, measure out with a measuring tape, measure all the way this way, okay, then measure all the way this way, and measure all the way this way. Leave this open, leave this blank. So you're basically 1, 2, 3 sides. Then measure this way. Okay, how long is the box? And then measure the side of the box, and only measure halfway. Because what I did here, so here's front, here's the side, I just made long enough to go halfway down the middle here, and then I joined the sides and they wrapped around. So here, measure halfway here, and then you will join this together. So measure, so you're gonna chain half of this dimension, chain this length, and then chain halfway here. That way when you fold it over, it will fold all the way in or around the box. It'll be snug around the box. So to make this box, I feel like I'm overcomplicating this. To make a wrap to go around a full-size box, measure halfway, full way, halfway. Take that measurement, chain that measurement, make 1 single crochet stitch in every stitch space across, back and forth, row after row, 1 single crochet stitch, every stitch space across, chaining 1 to get to each row. Keep going until that rectangle that you make can wrap around 3 sides of the box, leaving 1 side open. Once you have made your wrap go 3 sides, no, it is 4 sides. Go all the way around, because I'm like looking at it now. Go ahead, do all 4 sides. Okay, measure out, or have your rectangle go so you can go all the way around all 4 sides and meet up here at the top. Okay. Then take that one side so that way this part can open up, and I want you to fold that rectangle so that way it measures. This would be so much better if I just had it. So take this side, lay it flat. This side, this side, this side, make these three sides fold in half. Then join the side together, so when you tuck this in, it forms around it. This flap will go meet up here. And then to make the full flap, you just decrease single crochet, first two, one single crochet across, decrease single crochet the last two. Keep doing that for how long you want the flap to be, so that way there is enough of a flap to secure on the end. When it comes to making the hole to pull something out of, I would just honestly keep putting the flap around this until you found an opening where you're like, this is where I want the hole to be. So then you would go ahead and make your opening. You can have your opening be the same width as mine, or if you want it to be bigger, just no chain, however many chains in the center, and skip that same many stitches that you chain, and then meet back up and single crochet across. Same exact technique that I did in the tutorial. You're just going to need to change how many single crochet stitches inward before you make the hole, and then have that even number on the other side. That way your hole isn't like off center and it looks weird. Sometimes I feel like it's easier for me to just make the tutorial, make the pattern, make the project than it is for me to explain it. I'm hoping that helped a little bit. Feel like I just confused the situation even more. I hope that was helpful. I hope it made some sense. Basically, try to take the tutorial I did and just make your rectangle wider to meet the box dimension, and then keep making it until it wraps all the way around, and then create your flap to seal it shut. All right, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go. I feel like I just talked way more than I anticipated, which I always do. It's what I do. I just like to talk to you guys, and I ramble, and I know I do, but that's me. So I hope you guys have a beautiful Wednesday. My Crafters Gatherers, I will see you tonight. And for everybody else, I will be seeing you this Friday with a brand new tutorial. I'm showing you how to make my men's fall scarf. And it's very, very pretty. It's very, very pretty. I hope you enjoy it. So look out for that tutorial. It's gonna be it's gonna be a great one. One that I think guys are really gonna appreciate. All right, guys, I'll see you with the next one. Bye.